Every What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another edition of Go Talk with Marcus, presented by the almighty Give Us a Shot Network. Once again, joining on the show is basic felon Jerm, one half of the duo at Stuff About Sports, and we got a good one for you tonight. Last night, the NFL released this year's schedule, and I gotta be honest, there's some ups, there's some downs, and there's a lot of head scratchers. We're going to break down the entire NFL schedule and shame Roger Goodell for making the Jets play on 9/11 next.
Give them a shot to do what?
I could say how you doing, but I was just with you like 24 hours ago.
yeah, and I'm doing great, man. It's all good, man. I'm glad to be on the Royal Purple brand. Go Talk with Marcus, man. It's good times.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, Roger Goodell?
Yeah, he's
making
crazy.
the Jets play on prime time on 9/11 Monday Night Football.
New York's going to have to suffer through two tragedies now, so it's going to be bad because they're playing the Bills.
That's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. So let's talk about it, right? Prime time, I feel like, is always the coveted spots, right? Chiefs, Chargers, Bills, and Cowboys all have 6 primetime games. This year, for the first time ever, there's some teams that aren't guaranteed primetime games, and the Texans, Falcons, Cardinals, and Colts fall into that category, unfortunately. Jerm, of all the primetime games, which one do you think is going to be the most exciting this year?
Anyone that the Bills are playing in, dog. I mean, think about it. They put them in all the marquee matchup games. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get – the only thing I don't like, I don't think it's prime – no, it might be prime time. The Chiefs and Bills. I gotta look at the Bills' schedule again. I had it up earlier, but, I mean, the Jets – so the Jets, the season opener – against the Jets is interesting for multiple reasons, right? Division game. If the team is going to push the Bills in the AFC East, it's going to be the Jets. You have Aaron Rodgers. You have, that's going to be interesting litmus test for the Jets versus the defending AFC East champion. So anytime you get Josh Allen versus another marquee matchup, another one I'm really excited about, if you want to call it primetime, is the matchup with the Jaguars in London, and just how much love Trevor Lawrence and that Jacksonville team has gotten. This year specifically for Jacksonville, considering they got a couple primetime games, especially the back-to-backs in London. A lot of eyes are going to be on Jacksonville, and so if Trevor Lawrence is going to take that next step, I mean, there's pundits out there that put him in the top 5 quarterback in the league category somehow, and So to see that versus somebody like Josh Allen is really exciting for me to see.
It's not a primetime game right now. I would imagine by the time we get there to be flexed to primetime. Chiefs Bills on New Year's Eve. Yeah. I'm sorry, Chiefs Bengals on New Year's Eve. It's Bengals, always
that's what it is. Yeah,
it's always fun to see the Bengals and the Chiefs play ball. The Chiefs have only beat the Bengals one time, which is that interesting. Burrow's the only quarterback to beat, not named Tom Brady anyway, to beat Mahomes multiple times,
right,
in the playoffs specifically, but just in general. So that's always a good one. But if there's one primetime game for me that I'm really looking forward to, it's Bills Bengals Week 9. We can finally get that game. We didn't get the game during the regular season, obviously, unfortunately, because of what happened with Damar Hamlin. We got in the playoffs in Buffalo. Bengals came out on top. Those 3 teams are the cream of the crop in the AFC, and whenever you can get those 3 teams any combination of those 3 teams on the field at the same time, no matter where it is, it's going to be fireworks. And I'm looking forward to it. The one for me that I looked at, and it's like, why am I looking at this? I'll be honest. I don't want to see the Bears and the Chargers on Week 8 on Sunday Night Football. I don't think that's a game I want to see.
Yeah,
they're not going to be. I don't think the Bears will be bad this year. They'll be better. They won't be like one of the better teams, but they'll be better this year than they were last year. The Chargers will be the Chargers, but is that really a game I'm going to want to wait? I'm going to want to, as the theme song says, wait all day for Sunday night to see. I don't know if I want to see that game.
Well, it's not the worst primetime game on the docket. I think the Commanders and the Bears, I believe, have a Thursday night game. So I mean, that's
Again?
yeah,
We not
again.
learned from last year.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of eyes on the Bears, right?
That's true.
Now that DJ Moore is in Chicago, Justin Fields, a lot of people like Justin Fields. I'm not one of those people. I just see Cam Newton all over again, and we all know how I feel about Cam Newton. And so, but we all seen how much a true number one wide receiver, or at least a competent wide receiver, does wonders for quarterbacks. So we'll see. Justin Fields turns out to be what everybody says he is, then damn, we got Chicago has a good thing going. So obviously not worth seeing the Commanders. And
it's their lone primetime game. So
it is their lone primetime game. And shout out to the Commanders, finally the sale of that team has been complete today. No more Dan Snyder. So obviously they're going to go into some type of rebuild or assess what they got going in this year. With who do they have? Sam Howell, and we'll see what they do. But yeah, some of the primetime slots. I know what the NFL is trying to do, but it's some of the matchups. You're right, are not favorable at all. Like Titans Steelers is not one that I see in primetime.
I mean, so that's the thing too. Like especially look at Thursday, because like Sunday Night Football has got its Sunday Night Football is great, and so is Monday Night Football. Thursday Night Football, especially last season, season on Amazon Prime. I think there were like one or two primetime games as a collective that the NFL community as fans watched. And like the season opener doesn't really count because it's on Thursday, but it's technically a Sunday night game because it's on NBC.
Right.
So like it counts as Sunday Night Football. Like Thursday Night Football can't suck this year again the way that it did this year.
No.
They can't drop duds back to back. They just can't. It's not going to be good for business for the NFL. It's not going to be good for business for Amazon if this year's slate is not good. Now, I do think they tried to do a good job of putting on some interesting games. Like we get Vikings Eagles week 2. We got
Giants Niners.
Like we've got an interesting combination of teams, but then you've got like Bears Commanders, Titans Steelers. I don't really want to see that. I don't want to see the Saints and the Rams in prime time really, but so it just depends. Hopefully they get. I don't know if you can get flex out of Thursday Night Football. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
I don't think you can do that.
I don't think that's the thing that they can do just because it's Thursday. But I just. Looking at the schedule, it's okay, but there's definitely a potential for some duds on Thursday Night Football this year. That's for sure. Speaking of duds, last season, the Philadelphia Eagles made it to the Super Bowl on what was one of the weakest schedules in the league last year. And whenever teams are successful, the fans are always like, oh, well, we don't make the schedule. We just play who's in front of us. Yeah, I got that. But the win percentage there was atrocious. This season, wouldn't you know that the NFC champions have the toughest opponent win percentage on their schedule, 56.6%? Did the Eagles benefit last year because of the schedule, or are the Eagles going to prove that they were just a really good team last year?
So I know what the stats say about teams who reach the Super Bowl, what they do. They kind of have a fall off. It's very hard to go back there. And we talked about this on Stuff About Sports with the Giants, who had a miraculous run last year, but it was because they played divisions like the AFC South. And this year they have AFC East and I believe NFC West. So it's going to be a little different for the Giants this year. Doesn't mean they're not a good team. It just means who they play is going to be better. Now, because the Eagles finished first in their division, they're going to be facing the number one teams in other divisions. That's just the way it goes. We'll see. I tend to believe that the Eagles are good, but history states quarterback that just gets paid. You're coming off of Super Bowl. Like there's a lot of we made it type stuff going on, and it's kind of hard to duplicate going from started from the bottom than being at like it's easier. There's an old wrestling term. It's easy to become champion. It's hard to stay champion. Yeah. It's a lot harder to stay champion. And even though obviously they didn't win, but getting to the Super Bowl, essentially being NFC champions, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get there, especially with health from other teams. And then obviously free agency and drafting moves. And so we'll see how it shakes out for the Eagles. I would tend to believe they would still be a top 5 team in the NFC. And so I fully expect them to also win their division. I just think that the talent is there. I do think Jalen Hurts is good. So I expect the Eagles, to say, are we going to sit there and say if they don't make it back to the Super Bowl, it's a failure? No, but obviously if they miss the playoffs, it's a different thing. I expect them to be good. Win the division, make it to the playoffs. That's all you can really expect from any team. That you would deem good for me.
So, I mean, when you look at this, right, there's 4 games on this schedule that I think are going to be very telling. I think there's 4 games, and it's oddly enough, it's the same 4 games last year that just because of how things went, they kind of benefited from them. We've yet to see Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts on the field at the same time when the Eagles play the Cowboys. Hopefully, we'll see that twice in Week 9 and in Week 14. Yeah. And then obviously there's the Super Bowl matchup, which is going to be a Monday Night Football game in Week 11, that rematch. There's a lot of Eagles fans that say if they don't call that penalty at the end of the game, Eagles win the bowl, right? So that's a big game. And then, of course, there's a 49ers game, which there's 49ers fans and even some non-49ers fans that just thought they were a better team that say, hey, Brock Purdy doesn't get his elbow smacked around in the first part of that game. 49ers go to the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of there are a lot of the Eagles have always been a team to kind of play with that chip on their shoulder. I think going into those 4 games specifically because of the noise surrounding those four games, I would expect those games to be very important for the Eagles, right? As we hear the term bulletin board material a lot, I think that those 4 games are absolutely circled on every Eagles player and coaches and faculty members. Like, they're all looking forward to those 4 games, obviously, because those are 4 big ones. I think those are, especially that Niners game, because the trash talk back and forth between Niners players and Eagles players, it's almost as if they're like in the same division. They play twice a year just because of how much they've been going back and forth. That's a big one. Eagles lose that game. It might not mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but in that moment, I feel like the Eagles kind of have to win that game to prove to the Niners that they won because they were better and not because Brock Purdy got hurt. That's a big one. That's a
for
big
them.
One.
Yeah, I would imagine that's one that's being circled currently in the Eagles locker room, like just for that reason. But I have a lot of 49ers friends who claim that this team's going to win 12 games and it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, or Brock Purdy. And I'm like, man, this is some hefty expectations, maybe a little delusion on your part, but we'll see.
Yeah, fans of historical franchises tend to be delusional. I would know.
Yeah, about to say, yeah.
So we talk strength of schedule, and when you look at some of these other teams that are like in the middle of the pack, like it seems like the Chiefs, seems like the Bears, the Vikings, like teams like that, specifically the Vikings, who every game they played last season just about was a close game. Like that strength of schedule thing, like how much I know we keep doing this thing where like sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. But like when you're a team like the Vikings who made it to the playoffs and you kind of have a lot to prove because of how close those games were, like especially when you're playing those playoff teams, you have to show up and you have to perform because you don't have that many playoff teams to play if your strength of schedule is, and it's just like the Vikings, less than 500 is the combined win percentage of your teams that you're playing this year based on last season. Like those playoff games that you have against playoff teams from last season, rather, you got to step up. You got to win those games. You can't lose those games if you're a team like the Vikings who have some stuff they got to prove from last season.
Especially if you're in a division that's tight, right? The strength of schedule matters tremendously because you're matching up with other similar rankings from other divisions, however they decide what divisions play what. So like last year with the NFC East, they lucked out and got to play just simply because of how their schedules laid out, they matched up with the AFC South, who were dreadful. So those were a couple of gimme wins for them, which in turn affects playoff seeding. So yes, on one hand, you're right. You have to go out there and just play your games however it is. But typically, if you're a good team like the Bills, we always, Bills, Chiefs, the Eagles, like some of these teams that are the Bengals, some of these teams that are just perennially good, always have hard schedules because they're playing the tops of other people's divisions. So, historically, there's been at least one or two absolutely dreadful divisions, but most of the divisions are pretty evened up at the top. So this year, who's going to be the weak link? There's a lot of uncertainty. I don't know if it's going to be the AFC South again. A lot of people are hype about not Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and then obviously NFC South with Bryce Young there and Derek Carr now arriving. There's going to be a lot of eyes. I don't know who's going to be the worst division this year, but strength of schedule matters based for matchups and playoff seeding.
Let's talk about the holidays. Holidays are supposed to be a nice time for everyone. I feel like at some point there was a meeting that we weren't aware of where the NFL and NBA commissioner, whoever they were at the time, they got together and they said, hey, look, NFL, you guys take Thanksgiving, we will take Christmas, and that's how it's going to be. That's how it's been for a long time. Here comes good old Roger this year. Wants to ruin things. Let's get 3 Christmas games this year. Now, granted, these are some interesting matchups. You got Raiders Chiefs, which isn't really that interesting because the Raiders haven't beat the Chiefs since Pat Mahomes has been the quarterback. You got Giants Eagles, which could be a good one. It's NFC West, NFC's matchup. You got Ravens 49ers. Like, what are we doing? No one's watching these games. The fans of these teams aren't going to watch these games. We're going to be sitting at home watching basketball on Christmas because that's what we do. We sit down, we watch basketball. No one wants to see grown men in 100 pounds worth of pads grunting at each other all day on Christmas. That's not Christmas. That's not the Christmas spirit. The Christmas spirit is LeBron James and Steph Curry and KD and the NBA champion playing the team they beat. That is at home. That's Christmas. I don't want to see the Raiders on Christmas. I want to see this. What is Roger doing? You got the Jets playing on 9/11. You got 3 football games on Christmas. Bro, stay in your. This is why he shouldn't be the commissioner anymore. This is exhibit A and B of why Roger Goodell shouldn't be commissioner anymore. These are terrible decisions. No one's going to watch these games. No one's watching these games.
So first and foremost, I'd like to apologize. I didn't make this slide for you. I apologize. I thought I did. I definitely did. I might have not uploaded it, so I apologize for that. However, I was upset about this because how dare Roger Goodell infringe on our beloved NBA Christmas Day slate, which everybody knows is the unofficial start of the NBA season. Yeah. Even though the season technically starts in October, nobody really watches it until Christmas Day because the NBA Christmas Day is a thing. That's why they give us 6 games. Yes. Hey, but then I looked at the calendar. Christmas falls on a Monday this year. Oh. So I said, well, that makes sense. They were already going to play a Monday game, so now they just make it a thing.
A triple header. Okay.
A triple header. Yeah. So this is only going to happen this year or a day that Christmas falls on Sunday or Monday, maybe even Thursday. Next year, Christmas is going to be on a Wednesday. I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess that there's not going to be any NFL games. So you're not going to get Wednesday football, even though it'd be awesome. You know, you get Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. That'd be great. Okay. So at first I was with you. I was mad. And then I went to go look at the slate, I noticed the calendar and that Christmas does indeed fall on a Monday. However, I do it does infringe upon the NBA. And I wonder if this is going to mean that the NBA is going to scale back the matchups for its Christmas Day slate, because it doesn't really matter who plays on Christmas Day on the NFL side. At the end of the day, NFL just gets monster ratings. When the NFL and NBA, are happening, it's just the NFL is going to take all the ratings, man. They just every year the championship games always rate higher than the NBA championship games. The regular season games always rate higher. Everything, even the preseason games, rate higher. So NFL is just the king. They know it. So I don't know from an NBA standpoint. If I'm the NBA, I'd probably not. Because that's going to be an all-day thing, right? The Christmas Day. I mean, the Christmas game is going to start at 12, and they'll have 12. They'll have 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
1 o'clock, 4:30, and 8:15. Yeah.
Yeah, standard NFL times, right? So NBA starts at 12. So maybe you'll get one really good, Lakers Celtics, at 12, and then, unless it was, then the Boston Celtics would have to be at home, right, for that to happen.
That happens. Celtics be at home,
So you're not going to do it to 7 a.m.
It would be 9.
It'd be 9. You're not going to do that over in California. So, you'll give us like Lakers Celtics or something, at 12, and then you give us the Grizzlies Nuggets or some, a game that maybe the fans will watch, but you'll scale it back, Sixers Nets, something like that. Yeah. If I was to guess, that's probably what you'll get. You'll get one big matchup next year at 12, and then just regular, maybe division games for basketball, maybe some Eastern Conference foes. I wouldn't go crazy with the NBA scheduling, but NFL. I mean, you're doing what you do. You take advantage of the opportunity. It's Monday. Christmas is on Monday. You were already going to play football that day. Why not give guys an extra day at home? Leading up to Christmas, and then take advantage of a Christmas Day slate.
Speaking of doubleheaders, I'm just looking at this Monday Night Football thing. Am I the only one that's not a fan of the doubleheaders on Monday night?
I am not.
I don't get the appeal of it. Like that second game is again, it's a primetime game, but that second game is not going to get looked at by the country. It'll get looked at by like the fans of the teams. I'm not going to sit through Saints Panthers in week 2 and then turn around and stay up to watch the Browns and the Steelers. It's not happening. And I'm not going to turn around a week later and watch the Eagles stomp on the Bucks just to stay up to watch the Bengals stomp on the Rams. It's not happening. I just can't do that. I've never understood.
I don't know why they do that. It's got to be TV deals. It's got to be TV rights, right? I don't know.
When they do it in week 1, it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But even so, it doesn't really make sense to do it in week 1 at all. Like, I just feel like Monday night's not a doubleheader night. That's not what it's supposed to be. Give me one game to finish out the week. Don't give me a game I'm going to watch and then a game I'm not going to watch. Then I wake up, something crazy happens. I didn't see it because I didn't want to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the Rams play the Bengals. Just the NFL is a doubleheader sport to me. Just if you want to have a bunch of games on at the same time, throw it on Sunday. That's what it's there for. It's a long day. I don't want my Monday nights to end at 2 o'clock in the morning.
And they typically throw the West Coast teams on later, so it's like, even if they do start the Monday night game at 6, the West Coast team like the Rams or the Seahawks or whoever, they're not playing until 9. And you're right, I'm not saying
of keeping it so that the West Coast team in those instances are the home team, but like in week 2, you've got Brown Steelers.
Yeah,
that's
well, okay. Well, the NFL's in the projecting business, right? So if you look at Brown Steelers, what do you got? You got Deshaun Watson, finally knocking the ring rust off on an otherwise pretty good Browns roster. We'll see. And there's people love Kenny Pickett. I like Kenny Pickett. I loved what I saw from Kenny Pickett.
He played good ball.
And the Steelers are still the Steelers, and we'll see, right? Like we'll see what happens with them. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season, right? So it's just one of those. The Steelers are always going to get love. They're like the low budget Cowboys in terms of media. Media attention. No matter what the Steelers do, they're gonna get primetime games. They're gonna get eyes on them because they've earned it, right? Like that's just the reality of the situation. Then you got Rams Bengals. Okay, I'm with it. Like we'll see. And then Eagles Bucks. The Bucks.
I don't want to see Baker sacked 10 times.
Yeah, that's who's the Bucks quarterback? Baker Mayfield. Yeah, so there you go.
Baker been sacked 10 times.
Jesus, oh my Lord.
Could be running for life. Here's something I've always thought about too. And every time I see like rivalry games in prime time, I always feel like this is a thing that should happen. And I feel like the NFL kind of dabbled in it a little bit last week, and I would love it if they commit to it. Can we get a rivalry week? Like, can we just get 6? We know every team has to play 6 games against their division. Can we just get 6 dedicated rivalry weeks? Because it solves a couple problems. Number one, I was talking to my friends about this the other day. The Eagles, and I think Bert mentioned this last time I was talking about sports too. The Eagles and the Giants for the last like 3 or 4 seasons have played each other like twice in a 3-week span.
Yeah.
The NFC East last season played each other in the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. Like, I feel like if you just give me 6 dedicated rivalry weeks, number one, that makes it easier for the casual fan, the fans that are just getting into the NFL, to recognize, okay, like these are the 6 weeks when like you're going to play. But then also like it gives all the other teams space, because those rivalry games, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of hype. It's a lot of focus. They're always very physical. And there's always a bunch of trap games involved because it's a rivalry game. Like, if you just give me 6 dedicated, just like college football does. College football, there's 1 week in the season where all the rivalry, like, this is the week we get Michigan versus Ohio State. Like, this is the week we get, like, I feel like if the NFL, I think the NFL should capitalize on just 6 rivalry weeks. You're going to get 6 games, and then you build the other 11 games into the schedule around those 6 weeks. It makes those 6 weeks mean much more. And I think it makes the division rivalry games mean much more. I mean, of course, they mean a lot anyway. But I'm like, okay, this is the week when every team in the league is playing their division rival. And this is why. And this week, there's going to be a lot of ratings on TV for this week. And I feel like we're talking about the NFL, drawing in ratings and being kings. I feel like that'd be a great way to capitalize on the casual fan and a great way to capitalize on those division rivalries. Just give me 6 weeks during the course of the season. Pick 6 weeks, spread them out equally. You're going to play your division opponent this week. And then I think it should be week 1, week 17, and then the other 4 weeks sprinkled in there somewhere. It makes those week 1 and week 17 games mean that much more. And then the other games in the middle mean that much more as well. I feel like the NFL should look into that 100%.
They should, and they kind of do, right? Like you said, week 17, usually the last weeks of the seasons are division games. In the first couple weeks, there's mostly division games, right? The Bills, I mean, then the Jets are opening up the NFL season as a division game. But in terms of marketing it, they should. The reason probably why they don't is because you don't know who you're playing until the seasons end up, right? So you don't know what, and they have to deal with travel. So you don't know what conference or what division you're playing for the next year. So when they do the schedules, they don't know what's going on. They rotate your division every 4 years, right? So like you play the NFC South this year, you're not going to see them for another 4 years. You have to work around travel. You just don't know what the seating is going to be to figure out who you're playing in the other two divisions that they spread it out in. So it'd be probably hard to do that. The only real way you could do that, and this is something we've also talked about before, is you realign the conferences, you realign the divisions. They should absolutely by geography do it that way. And
the only division that makes sense really is the NFC West and the AFC West because they're all Western Coast. They're all West Coast teams. The other divisions don't make. Why are the Dallas Cowboys, who play in Texas, playing in the NFC East with the Giants, the Commanders, and the Eagles, who are all within 3 hours of each other?
Yeah,
like the Giants, not the Giants, the Cowboys and the Texans should be in the same division. All the Florida teams. Why is the Dolphins in the AFC
East the only cold weather team? Yeah, it's the
Patriots, the Jets, and the Bills are all up there, and the Dolphins all the way down here. Like they should 100%. That's not true. The NFC North makes a lot of sense too because they're all like within that little.
I think the only team that probably wouldn't change, I would say, would be the AFC North or no. NFC North, the Lions.
That was a good one because they're all in that little square right there. You got Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago. They're all right there. And the NFC North's not that bad too because it's Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, and what's the other one? Cincinnati. So they're not that far apart. But
it should be. I mean, honestly, so you do like let's start with the AFC East, right? You do the Bills, the Patriots, the Giants and the Jets because they share the stadium, so that makes sense for them.
That would make sense, yeah. You put the Steelers in the division with the Eagles because
So then you do Washington, Eagles, Steelers, and then probably Baltimore, right?
Because Baltimore right up the beltway,
right there. Okay, so then you do Cincinnati, you do Cleveland, and you do Indianapolis and Tennessee, right? You do they're right there.
They're not that far away from each other.
NFC North's the same: Bears, Lions, Packers, Vikings, right? NFC South, all the Texas teams.
NFC South is the Falcons, not the Cardinals. I'm sorry, the Falcons.
So it would be Cowboys, Panthers, Texans, and Saints. Let's put them there.
You put the Bucks, the Jags, the Dolphins in the same division because they play in Florida.
And Atlanta's right there.
And Atlanta's right there. Atlanta right there as well. Yeah.
And then
AFC West. I mean, I guess you could.
AFC West could probably stay the same.
Probably stay the same. All right there.
Broncos, Cardinals, who is it? Chiefs and Raiders.
Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers. Yeah. Unless you want to put
I'd move the Chargers. I would move the Chargers.
California teams to the same same
division. Because LA, right? I would move the Chargers.
The Rams and the Chargers play in the same stadium. That would be.
I would move the Cardinals. I would move the Cardinals over to the West and put the Chargers, the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks in the NFC West. So that's
talking about how in baseball they've got like that thing, like the Subway Series with the Jets and the Yankees. It's a big thing because they're right there, and it's so much easier, and you get that rivalry feel.
You could get it all the time. You can get it all the because people can travel. Imagine if they like the Jets can travel up to Buffalo. They're Giants now. The Giants can do it. But driving down to Miami, like going to all these places is crazy. Like think about all the Florida teams, man. Think about all that. Like think about how big the rivalries would be when they actually play each other. Right now it's just bragging rights, right? They're all spread out, things of that nature. But imagine they're in the division. Now it matters. Now the games really matter too. They see each other twice a year. Realignment should be a real conversation for the NFL in the next couple of years, I think. Especially if they're talking about expanding. They're talking about expanding teams.
It's similar to the same conversation that we have sometimes. Like I know this is an NBA show, like with the NBA. Like whenever we get a team back in Seattle, Memphis is coming to the East because there's no reason why the Memphis Grizzlies should be in the Western Conference anyway when they play in Tennessee. and Tennessee is on the eastern side of the country. Like they should be these like the NBA should look at some realignment as well because some of their divisions don't make 100%. They're better than the NFL, that's for sure. But it could fix some things as well. Let's talk about. It's way too early to make. Well, it's never too early to make playoffs.
Never too early.
Never too early to make playoff predictions. Based on the schedules, who do you have making the playoffs? We'll start with in the NFC. Who do you have making the playoffs in the NFC?
I have the Eagles, obviously. I think they're going to win the division. I have the Lions winning their division. Sorry.
We ain't winning it.
I'm
rooting for 65.
All right. So I have the Eagles. I have the Niners. I have the Lions. I have I'm going to ride with the Seahawks again. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I'm going to go with the Saints because I do like Derek Carr and I think he's going to have success.
Yeah.
And the last one's going to be tough, man. I can see the Vikings making it too, man. I don't know. I can see they're always there. They're always in the mix. You know what I mean? Like, and I can't really think of anybody in the NFC that I like that much. You know, maybe the Giants. I don't see 3 NFC East teams making it.
Not
That's
again.
the problem. Not again. It's just not going to happen. That's probably who I'll go with.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree. I think the Eagles will win the division again. I think they'll make the playoffs. I like the 49ers in the playoffs. I like the Saints. I like the Vikings to win the division, but I do like the Lions to make it as a wild card. I think the Cowboys are back in, and for me, it's either the Rams or the Seahawks. And as much as I like what the Seahawks have done, and they have, don't get me wrong, the Seahawks, Geno had a great season last season, and the Seahawks had a solid draft. I just can't bank on Geno Smith having another season this year like he did last year. The Rams' undoing last season was nothing more than injury. Matt Stafford missed 8 games. Cooper Kupp missed 8 games. Aaron Donald missed 5. Like when your 3 best players aren't playing football for you, and you're resorting to who's name Matt Walford.
Scott Walford.
Football games with Walford at quarterback. So I think the Rams will get back into the playoff this year. I think the Seahawks are going to miss out. I think the Seahawks, and this is no disrespect, I think the Seahawks just benefited on they took advantage of the fact that the Rams were just banged up. Yeah. And they won games and the Rams couldn't win games. And I think the Seahawks are going to miss out. The Cowboys though, Mike McCarthy's got balls, man. He's fired. They let go Kellen Moore because he wants to run the football. Wouldn't you know that with Kellen Moore at the offense as offense coordinator last season, the Cowboys were top 10 ranked in rushing yards per game? Like this wasn't a bad running offense last season. So
right.
He's got he's putting it all on the line. But I think the Cowboys, I mean, they're better than the Giants. They're better than the Commanders. The NFC South is only going to put one team in this year, just like they did last year. I think they might be the worst division of football this year. I like the Cowboys' chance. I'll say the Rams get the last spot over the Seahawks in the NFC. The AFC though is tough, not because of the log jam like in the NFC. It's because there's too much happening in the AFC to really pick just 7 teams to make it. Who you think in the AFC is going to make the playoffs?
Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think Lamar is gonna get them on track now with Odell there. I can pick the Ravens to go in there. I think the Jags are gonna make it again. I think the Jags are for real. I do. I really do. And then it's gonna be hard for me to not say the Jets. There's too much talent. Like anything that Robert Saleh gives you as a disadvantage in terms of his coaching ability, Aaron Rodgers more than makes up for.
Sure.
So I mean, it's with the defense, and you added Aaron Rodgers to that, to an already top flight defense. No pun intended.
Yeah.
I can't see them not making the playoffs. I think it'll be, they could be the first wild card team. I think the Bills and the Jets are going to have similar records. I just think the Bills are better.
Yeah.
And then the last playoff team sneaking in there, Chargers, I guess. I don't really know who else in the AFC. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head that I would like drastically like that. Justin Herbert has to figure it out at some point. This has to be the year for him to make that happen for the Chargers. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. I know a lot of people are gonna scream at me, but again, I don't see 3 AFC East teams making it. I just think math, I think math is not there for them.
Yeah.
Can a team like there's no real other, like the Texans are still a couple years away. The Browns, maybe the Browns. I don't know, but again, AFC North, not gonna sneak 3 teams in there.
What the NFC East did, as much as we like to crap on the NFC East, what the NFC East did last year is a virtual impossibility, and it's only possible because there's now a 7th team.
Yeah,
right. Like that's really the only reason why it's tough to get 3 teams in your division. It's not as tough to get 2, of course, because it's 2, but it's almost impossible to get 3. But I agree with you. I think the Chiefs, Bengals, Bills are locks. I think the Jags are also locks just because of the division they play in to make the playoffs.
I mean, you could, for me,
I like the Ravens to make the playoffs as long as Lamar's healthy. And then,
Dolphins, Steelers, and Chargers. It's one of those. It's somebody's going to get in. It has to be.
Dolphins, Steelers, or Chargers. I just don't know what combination. I could see the Steelers doing it. I think the Steelers had an amazing draft, and a lot of people think that drafting based on need is overrated, but the Steelers just needed to do what they needed to do. Because, like you said earlier, like Kenny Pickett only lost 2 or 3 games last year as the starter. He played 9 of them, so he played good ball last year. The O-line wasn't that great. They went out there, they attacked the O-line. The defense needed a little bit more oomph. They went out there, they supported the defense. Like everything that they needed to do to get better, they got better. They drafted Darnell Washington to be the tight end. Like Kenny Pickett's got weapons to throw to. He's got a better O-line a little bit. Najee Harris, I think, is going to have a better season this season. He hasn't had bad seasons, but he could be better. But it's because his O-line is old and banged up. Like I think the Steelers are always in the mix because of who their coach is. I love this. This just made me smile. I don't usually bring comments in often, but this one I got to acknowledge. Sports PSP.
Shout out to our guy, man. Shout out to Sports PSP.
Joe Burrow winning MVP this year.
Oh my god,
I love it.
I mean, hey, I'm not gonna scoff at it. Joe Burrow, that dude, man. I can't say nothing bad about Joe Burrow.
Whenever you show love to Joseph Lee Burrow, you all right with
you don't drop a comment on the I mean, it's always going to be the same guys, right? It's going to be Josh Allen. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be Jalen Hurts. Now has probably entered that conversation, and Joe Burrow. Like those guys are just so far ahead of everybody else in terms of star power in the league. And everybody knows unless I don't know about Aaron Donald, but there could be a defensive player that just comes out and just goes crazy. But everybody knows.
The only 2 defensive players that would even be in that conversation are Micah and Nick Bosa.
Yeah, right.
Like
so
Donald's past the time where he could be a potential.
Right, but that's what I just because he was the last one that I could think of. Like just unless something historic happens with another, because a skill player is probably never going to win MVP unless they run for 2,500 yards or something ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like it's just never. That's why I don't like the NFL MVP award. I really wish they would make a. Do like baseball, have a separate like the Cy Young, and then they do. Yeah. And I think the NFL should honestly do MVPs per position. Do a defensive player MVP, do a not player of the year, or defensive player of the year. I'm talking about like MVP, like make it a thing, and then also just do an offensive player and have like their version of the Cy Young, called the Joe Montana Award or something like that. Do whatever you want to do, but they need to give away for other players to get some flowers other than the quarterbacks, because the quarterbacks are always going to get MVP unless a skill player does something historically great. And
you look at what the NBA did, like the NBA rebranding and adding in new trophies.
It's great.
They changed the name of something. You got the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference Finals MVP, which I think when I first thought when they first announced it, I was kind of iffy about it, like thinking about it, like it makes a lot of sense to do that. But yeah, like that makes sense when you look at what the NFL like. Okay, the last running back to win MVP was Adrian Peterson in 2012. He ran for over 2,000 yards that season. There's been 8 guys in the history of football to rush for over 2,000 yards in their career. Terrell Davis, Eric Dickerson, Adrian Peterson, Chris Johnson, Jamal Lewis, O.J. Simpson.
The Juice.
I'm missing someone. Barry Sanders, and there's one more whose name is failing me, and I can't think about it. But like of those 8, did I say Terrell Davis already? Derrick Henry. I think I said Derrick Henry. Yeah. There it is. Of those 8 guys, 2 of them won MVP.
Right.
Like, so it's almost impossible as a running back to do it. A wide receiver's never done it because a wide receiver's successors are going to say, oh, it's because of the quarterback.
Right.
Like, it's hard to be a great, like, there are obviously all-time great wide receivers, of course.
Yeah.
But when you think about it as far as winning MVP, wide receivers don't impact winning as much, if at all. And if a wide receiver goes for 3,000 yards, that means a quarterback's has at least 3,000 yards in that season. So they're just going to throw it back to the quarterback anyway. It's a tough thing to do. I agree. We should get like the Jerry Rice Award for the NFC wide receiver, and then I can't think of an all-time great AFC wide receiver like the Heinz Ward Award or something. I don't know, right. But like they should do that, and it makes those players' names mean something, and then of course it makes because now it's like, oh man, in 2019, let's say for example 2019. Devontae Adams won the Jerry Rice Award. He must have done something great to win an award named after Jerry Rice.
Rice,
It just makes you feel. It makes those, and then it makes the other players feel like they're actually playing for something that isn't just to win a championship, which only one team can do anyway.
Sports PSP might be onto something. Vegas has Joe Burrow plus 600 tied with Patrick Mahomes. As the early odds favorite for MVP, so not bad.
You know how I feel about Joseph.
Hell yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it.
We love Joseph on this side. We love Joseph on this side.
Anybody but Patrick. I don't care. Anybody but
Patrick. That's true. I've come to a point with the Chiefs where like I know we keep trying to give the crown to other teams, but like, man, I do like seeing the Chiefs lose. Like I like seeing them win, but I love seeing them lose.
I love it.
And I'm not even a fan of an AFC team like you are. Like I just like seeing the Chiefs lose sometimes because it just makes them they get this chip on their shoulder that they don't need because they're already champions and they're already running the league and they just want to come back and just beat up on everybody. But I 100% do think though that we should get some more diverse awards so that other players can get their shine. Like let's give some shine to some offensive linemen. Like
I would love an offensive lineman MVP, 100%.
We never talk about O linemen. They with what they have to go through.
Joe Thomas should have won some type of award. You know what I mean? Like in his career, struggling with the Browns all those years, like he deserves something. You know. 100%. So Kyle Williams of the Buffalo Bills, he deserves some type of award for being great. And but it makes, and then it gives players incentives. Like if you know. Because that builds in that goes into contract negotiations. It gives people incentives to play harder. People knock the NFL, I only watch college because the kids care, they play harder. Well, how do you get the millionaires to care? Well, you give them more money. And how you give them more money? Hey, if you win offensive lineman MVP, you win, linebacker MVP or whatever, let's see, you can get some dollars. So that's how you do it.
Sports PSP said, who's your NFL comeback player of the year? Deshaun Watson. I don't know if it really counts because he played 4 games last year, but like Deshaun Watson. I don't even know.
DeMar Hamlin, dog. He died.
Right. DeMar Hamlin. That's a great point. It'll be DeMar Hamlin. DeMar Hamlin's going to get a pick 6 in one of these games, and the world's going to erupt.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's do NFC, AFC Championship, and then Super Bowl predictions too, since we're giving out way too early playoff predictions. Who do you have going to the conference title games, and who do you think is going to make it to the bowl?
I have Bengals Bills in the AFC, and the Bills getting their get back, going to the Super Bowl. Versus, of course, I have the Bills going to the Super Bowl. You think come on now? And I have the I have the Niners beating the Eagles
I like
in
that.
the NFC.
Yeah.
Because I think the Eagles, the Cowboys. I'm going to go with the Lions and the Niners are going to be the final four in the NFC. I do.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
And I have the Niners beating the Lions and the Eagles beating the Cowboys. And then I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna go Eagles, Bills in the Super Bowl. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have the Eagles beating the Niners. And then so I have the Chiefs getting beaten, or I have the Chiefs getting beaten by the Bengals as the 3 seed, because I think the Bengals will probably be the number 1 seed, Bills will be the 2 seed, and then the Bills beating the Bengals in the AFC title game, going to the Super Bowl.
I also have Bengals Bills in the AFC Championship game, but I have the Bengals winning. I have what I thought should have been the NFC Championship game last year. Championship game this year. I think we're going to get Eagles Cowboys in the NFC Championship game this year.
I would love that.
I really do. I really do. I would love. First of all, that'd be amazing to see the Eagles.
I would love a Bills Cowboys Super Bowl, to be honest with you.
That would be great. I would. It's tough. I think this season. So I know I clowned them earlier, but I do think the Cowboys have. For those of you guys that don't know me personally, right? I'm born and raised in DC, and everyone in my family, except for my stepmother and my brother and a couple other people, are Commanders fans. So it's against my upbringing to be as nice to the Cowboys as I've been over the last year and a half. I haven't gotten nice words. I've been kicked out of group chats and all types of things, but it's okay. This is just I have to be objective. The Cowboys have they've grown on me to the point where I look at the Cowboys and I think that as long as they don't they stay out of their own way, which is a tough thing for them to do. Don't get me wrong, but as long as they stay out of their own way, they can be one of the better teams in football, not just in the conference. I liked what I saw from the Cowboys last season, despite. Other than, of course, Dak Prescott leading the league in interceptions, despite missing 4 games, which is unacceptable. I think the Cowboys can make it to the NFC Championship game this year. I don't know if they'll win it. They can make it.
Yeah, they can make it. They have the talent to make it.
I've got Bengals. I've got Bengals. I've got Bengals Eagles in the Super Bowl this year. I think the Bengals are going to finally win one with Joe Burrow.
Man,
and I think the Bengals are going to have the run that they need to have to get there. I think they're going to play the Ravens again. I don't think they're going to be the 1 seed. I think they'll be the 2 seed. I think the Bills or Chiefs will be 1, but I think they're going to play the Ravens. They'll beat the Ravens, and then they'll go on to play the Bills or Chiefs, or they're going to play the Chiefs. They'll beat the Chiefs again, and then they'll go play the Bills and they'll beat the Bills. That's the run that Joe Burrow and the Bengals need. Because they always say for the Bengals, well, Lamar was hurt. Like that's what they need. The Bengals need to get Lamar Jackson healthy in a meaningful playoff game and get the win. And that shuts
Lamar Jackson, sneaky comeback player of the year candidate too.
He most likely will be, actually, when you think about it.
Damar Hamlin he has to be he just has to be present. He's gonna win it. There's no way. He died. Sure. He died on the field. He would have to come out and lose his job and just be god awful. He would have to be if he just plays okay, he's gonna get it. Simply, like if he just stays healthy,
if he plays all 17 games.
Yeah, he's gonna get it, and he doesn't even have to be any type of good. Like to be honest with you, he just has to be decent. Games. Yeah, he just has to be there in the game, and he's gonna win it. There's not a doubt. There's not a doubt in my mind. Unless Lamar Jackson just comes out and is an MVP candidate, and something like that, maybe. But and I don't even know if they do comeback player of the year because I guess. So. I don't think so either. Trey Lance, I guess you could throw him in there too, but. The Bills, my only rebuttal to your Bengals pick is that the Bills are going to have their defense back whole for the first time in a long time. Micah Hyde, who didn't play all year, is coming back from his chest thing. Jordan Poyer is going to be healthy all year because he hurt himself before the season started and basically missed half the season. And then Von Miller's going to be back. Yeah. So our defense is going to be back. The best secondary in the league who didn't get to play together last year will be back. Yeah. And of course, and then Tre'Davious White, who was recovering, played a lot better in the back half of the season, is going to have a full off season because he didn't play only half the year as well. So, the Bills will be all right, man. I said 10 games, but 12 is real. 12 is real.
No, 12 is real. 12 is real. no one's going undefeated. We know that.
No, right.
Who's winning the most games in the league this year, though?
Ooh, without knowing anybody's real schedule, because I do think that matters.
Sure.
But I can see the Bills winning the most. I can see the Bengals winning the most, and I can see the Eagles winning the most. I can see all three of those teams winning 12 or more games, which I think is going to be what the bar needs to be.
Yeah.
Obviously,
the Chiefs over the past couple of years, that's been the bar. You win at least 12 or 13 games.
Right.
You're probably won the most games. Yeah.
Is there going to be my thing? Is there going to be like a surprise Arizona Cardinal team or a surprise Pittsburgh Steelers team that goes 11 games undefeated for some reason and just doesn't just all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, where did this team come from? I want to know who the surprise team is. I don't know if I'm going to count the Lions as a surprise team because I think people have had their eyes on the Lions.
I don't think they're surprise either.
I wouldn't be shocked if they just rattled off 10, 11 wins this season.
Think because of their division, I was just looking at the schedule the other day because I've been doing some writing for our stuff, so it could be ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think because I literally just looked at their schedule the other day. Their schedule through week 10, they have like 2 tough games where you look at it and you're like, maybe they lose them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Panthers could be that team.
Yeah, they
start the season off. They've got the Falcons, they've got the Saints, the Seahawks. 3 winnable games for them. Their defense was not that bad. I know they don't have DJ Moore anymore, obviously, but they did bring in Jonathan Mingo. He's an Ole Miss wide receiver, and Ole Miss wide receivers so far in the league.
And Adam Thielen. They have Adam Thielen now too.
They've done pretty well for themselves.
Yep.
They got the Vikings in October in week 4. I think they can win that game. They've got the Lions. The Dolphins will probably be on that in that first 6 weeks before they bye. The Dolphins will probably be the toughest game. It'll be a test of that defense for sure. You got to contain the Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They come out of their bye with the Texans and the Colts. The Texans, Colts, and Bears.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers could be that team. They probably won't, obviously. But I definitely think they could be that team that just comes out and shocks us. And they might not make it to 10-0, but they'll be one of those teams when the NFL is posting those like if your team's still undefeated graphics, and we're looking at 7, 8, and 9, and they're still on that graphic because we were a little bit confused when they traded DJ Moore, but what they've done after the draft, and then of course combine that with free agency, there's a lot of things to be happy about in Carolina, and I think their offense will be just fine. Yeah. I think it'll be okay. Chuba Hubbard played good ball after
sure did
after Chris McCaffrey got traded. I think the Panthers could be that team. Well, yeah, folks, it's always nice to talk with Jerm.
Yeah, man.
It's even better now that Jerm's just like, as JT would say, right across the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Just call on.
Yeah, just knock on my cubicle, man. I'm always around.
The cubicle. Like I said, the first time Jerm was on, I would usually have Jerm plug the network, but since I'm a part of the network,
you plug it.
The network. There you go. Come over to YouTube, subscribe to the network. If you're on Facebook, get on YouTube, subscribe to the network. If you're on YouTube, press the red subscribe button, subscribe to the network. I don't know what else to tell you. Those are the 3 most important words all the time. Subscribe. That's 4. Subscribe to the network. Give us a shot, network. It's on everything. We've got great talent across the network. Got myself with Go Talk Marks. Got Bert and Jerm with Stuff About Sports. We've got Corey and Mike with The Divide. You've got JT and Don with JT and the Don. You've got High Spot Podcast. I always feel bad internally. I don't know their names. I still plug them. I don't know their names.
Jeff and Brian. Yeah, Jeff and Brian. Yeah.
High Spot Podcast. I always think I'm gonna go figure it out, and I never do.
Yeah, and you guys should link up, man. They've been to WrestleMania. I think we're having big plans for Philadelphia because WrestleMania is gonna be in Philadelphia next year. So we're trying to get everybody together. So keep your calendars open. We're gonna do a lot of good stuff next year.
Yeah, and get used to double duty for me.
Yeah.
This has been nice. It's been nice. Next week, we're going live twice. We're going live for sure next Wednesday because the WNBA season starts next Friday. So next Wednesday, we'll be going live with my guy, Martin Soares. We'll be doing a full-on preview of the WNBA season. And then either, not Sunday because it's Mother's Day. Happy early Mother's Day to all you fantastic mothers out there. Either on Monday or Tuesday, we will do a conference finals preview depending on when all the games wrap up. When I know, y'all will know. Until then, though, subscribe to the network because there's a lot of great stuff happening on this side. So, For Jerm, Stuff About Sports. This is Marcus of Go Talking Markets signing off. Thank you guys for watching. As always, enjoy the rest of your lives. And Roger Goodell, when you get to hell, say hello to Art Browse for us.